A very warm welcome to my community. I'm Sherwood McCaskey. As always, I'm pleased that you have joined us. It is your weekly program that allows Barbadians to share that rich history and heritage of their communities and so enrich the lives of all of us. Last week, Pat Callender continued to share about his community Clapham and surrounding districts. He will be back with us next week to continue that discussion. Now, this week we introduce a Caribbean Renaissance man, Elombe Mottley. He will walk us through his community of Eagle Hall and share other childhood experiences from community to school to the anomalies in the church. This is my community, Eagle Hall, as told by Elombe Mottley. Who did you grow up next to in Eagle Hall?
I grew up next to Paris's, Captain Paris, and there was 12 of them or 13 of them or something, so, right? Across the road from them was Ryle Bell. He's a dentist in Washington now, right? And we lived next door. I knew the house, which was a wooden house, and my old man converted to wall. So you will see, that's one of the uniquenesses of Barbados. Chattel houses used to start with first gable, then the second gable, and then flat roof, which was the kitchen and bathroom or something, right? So the middle section used to be the bedrooms on both sides, and the front house was always the living room, and then the veranda with the jalousies and everything else like this and all that, right? That was the house. The old man converted the front house to added on this veranda with the jalousies. It wasn't even as wide as that room, but it went full size of the house with the jalousie doors, you know, and the windows, and all right. And then the living room. Then off both the living room and thing was another little space that he used to, in politics, discuss a lot of things with his constituencies and things, stuff like this, right? So he used to, then the master bedroom, and then on the other side was our bedroom. So my sister Dane, Turo's mother, was living with us. He had Callie from one woman, he had Justine from another woman, he had Dane from another woman, he had Enid from that same woman, so he had two from her, right? And then later on in life he had more that I never keep track of.
Now on to a very interesting story of how the good stuff of nature was used, although it had to be removed. It was eventually put to good use. The Barbadian story, yes, the good story of the Barbadian mahogany.
No, we cut down the mahogany tree because the old man expanded the house. And by expanding the house, the tree was right at the back of the house. Through the bridge, I should show you the picture of the house too. And the Smiths used to live in it after Sleepy Smith and all them from the country, right? When he rented it to them, just above where Kelvin lived, a white man was next door to us. And then the old man expanded it, right, from a wooden house to a soft stone house.
And after the tree was removed, it was used to make several pieces of furniture for the home. Elombe Mottley takes pride in showing us these exquisite pieces of Barbadian mahogany crafted by a Barbadian man.
All this made out of the same wood, same mahogany tree. That table, this table, the chairs, that clock, that cup sideboard, this sideboard, that trolley over there, liquor trolley. That's what my old man used to use to entertain his friends. Craftsmanship has more or less disappeared now because a lot of people used to sell the furniture before, but they don't sell it now, and they hold on to it. Right, from generation to generation.
Now back to the community and the Parises.
there were 11 of the parishes, or 12, right? Starting with Freddie and coming Elsie and Ruby and coming all the way down. Ruby married Clifford husbands. And then the Kings, now Horace King and them who live up in Green Hill, them two, there was another 13 of them, right? Because Horace used, as Harrison College with me, and he used to teach us lessons. He used to teach me maths privately, you understand? Across the road was Bell, Inspector Bell. Rael Bell, who is a dentist or a doctor in the States, his parents. Next to them was an old lady, living in a shop called Masakins. On the other side of us, the Eagle Hall side, right next to us, where Olive's was, because it is now Zephyrin Bakery or somebody there. So the Kelmans, a white man, used to live there, right? Right opposite Olive's, right? So that's the whole street, and then the old man bought the house down the road next to Extine Village. But that's how we grew up there, and we all used to go through the back and through the road at the back, which is a carrot road sort of thing, to cross the road by Dr. Roberts and cross and go down through the alley to go to Eagle Hall Primary School, because that's where all of us went to school, at that Eagle Hall Primary. And then we used to walk up and then cross the road and come up through the backyard and all of that. Extine Village is the one that we live next to, that we carry to Marshall Vegetable Garden, right? This is a man called Sam Marshall, who had the biggest, he used to supply the hospital and the alms house with vegetables, right? He wore khaki pants, short pants, and a khaki shirt, and walked barefooted. But he was a specialist in agriculture on vegetables. He lived in the States and something like this. And he had the whole old Extine Village, that whole thing, it was about 10 acres of land. And he used to supply the hospital and the alms houses with vegetables for years, and so on. But we knew him from things, because he used to set up stuff every morning by 6 o'clock. Somebody would turn up with beets, with carrots, with lettuce, with all sorts of vegetables. He and the old man was friends, and my old lady, And then the old man bought that house, got it cheap. I don't know how he managed to get it, but he got it, and we went down there. Then he built a house for Elliot later on in there, and then he sold it. They sold the whole compound to David Seal. And David Seal tear down everything and built the warehouse. By that time, he was developing a very strong law practice, right? And me and them were little kids at the time. When he bought these houses, when we sold these houses, because he had to be part of it, because he wanted the two properties.
Today, the site is now the home of one of this island's best corporate citizens, the People's Market, the sponsor of this series, as well as other local productions on CBC TV8. Thank you, the People's Market. What about school and education? What were his experiences of school? What did he learn? What about street sense?
Harrison College, I went to Harrison College I went to school first at Rudder, at primary school first at Eagle Hall Primary, and then I went to Rudder School for a year. Willie Rudder had a school there exactly at the corner of Halls Road and Constitution Road. They looked like a shop, a front shop, but it was literally a shop. Upstairs, people used to live upstairs, and the shop was downstairs. When I went to school there, it was rather, and we used to hang out in Queen's Park and stuff like this. And I learned how to manufacture a supply of rock stones after somebody. I was feeding him with rocks, and he was pelting them. That was another thing I asked, because there was no playing field up there. You go in Queen's Park for playing field, you know, on Spartan ground. I got into Harrison College then in like 47 or 40. I went there from about 7, I think, at the time. By 8, I was at Harrison College. Boy, Earl Watkins, I could remember. He lives in England now. His father at a drugstore or something. He was from Deacon's Road. Ed Batson was with me again. He too was at Manitoba with me. He's still in Canada somewhere in Ontario. Not Toronto, but somewhere off. Last time I spoke to him, I found out that he had great-grandchildren now. Right? So, but he was one of the guys in the foreign. Like, I don't remember a lot of those guys. But I stayed at Harrison College. I went off then to Canada. He also went to Canada the same year I did. But Harrison College was an experience out of this world, in that the white boys at lunchtime, the black boys went down on Weymouth. The white boys used to grab you and put you in the pavilion and tell you all crooks in the pavilion, thieves and crooks. And so you couldn't come out for your whole lunchtime till the bell ring. You understand? So that was the attitude of them in them days, and them white people. I could definitely remember all that. But I used to be heavily protected by the same kings. Did I tell you that was the Horace King? He also was one of my tutors later on in math. He became a land surveyor. So I used to hang out with them and Oliver Brown, who was the Solicitor General in Barbados at one point. They were all the boys in sixth form, but by hanging out with them, the white boys didn't dare touch you or nothing, so, you know. So they offered a lot of protection to that period down on Weymouth.
The mayor of Bridgetown, Ernest Dighton Mottley, had a long association with the Church of St. Mary. In a previous program, Dr. George Bell emphasized that association. In fact, Dr. Bell regarded him as Mr. St. Mary himself. As expected, his children were active members of the church, performing several roles. What was the role of Elombe?
I was in the choir. I joined in the choir in St. Mary's, but the calendar was teaching me music at the time too. But city was, you know, that was the old man domain as a politician and so on, because the captured audience was really the whole of Emerton, all the way the Orleans, you know, not so much the Orleans, because the Orleans would have been more St. Leonard's School, but the whole Bridgetown, all that, and that whole catchment area was the old man. So we were there, and his good friend, a white Belgian man called Heinz, he grew up with him too. So Heinz was we had not a lot of Belgian problem. The real problem of the St. Mary's was to find out that they had 2 different Sunday schools, a black one and a white one. So on Sunday, the black Sunday school was in the afternoon, around 3 o'clock, and the white Sunday school was on mornings. There was a 7 o'clock service where all the blacks attended, and then there was one at 8 o'clock that all the white people attended, and so on. That was my first understanding of them. But by that time I was at Harrison College and understood, you know, the attitude and difference with them. But primarily, nearly all of Fontebelle was white at that time. So all the children used to come to this special Sunday school. And they never used to go to Sunday school with black people or nothing. So, and whenever they had to take communion, they all occupy the front rows. Because I remember when we got confirmed, we were shocked to find out that there were white boys getting confirmed at the same time as the black boys and girls. They were sitting down in the front row. So they took communion first. and then the black boys, but they never mix in or come after the black boys. All the white boys were there. Sunday school was a white Sunday school and a black Sunday school. You know what I'm saying? And that went on. A lot of those churches at the time, the cathedral, St. Cyprian's, St. Leonard's, St. Paul's, you know, St. Ambrose. St. Ambrose was actually built for black people. You know where St. Ambrose is in Nelson Street, off Nelson Street, right? And the white people used to go to St. Paul's. The whole of Fontebelle, starting from St. Mary's Church, going right away down to Land's End, before the highway was built, and before the side roads to all down there was poor background people. You know, and they had this special privilege. But we didn't know nothing about so much that to the Harrison College.
Let us speak now of what you may consider to be a major social institution in Barbados at that time, an institution created out of necessity because you could not be admitted to other clubs.
A rum shop was in Barbados a social institution for people in the community, because remember, there was not much that you can do. If you couldn't get in, you could not get into Spartan, you couldn't get into Empire, you couldn't get into, not at all, you couldn't even pass the road if you could, past Pickwick or past Wanders or past YMPC, right? So the black boys could not get into those clubs. So but the blacks used to play for Harrison College or Combermere or so on, you know, a club, but you couldn't get into that. In the first place, Spartan and Empire formed at the turn of the century were black clubs, period. Spartan especially was black middle class. Empire was not the upper middle class. They were the lower middle class than clubs like Empire. But Spartan was the big thing, right? Wonders tended to be plantation employees, work on plantation. Pickwick was the poor background white people from Fontebelle and so on, right? Like store walkers and people like them, you know, not very well educated or nothing so, but the work as clerks in stores and things like this. Those were the people that would be in that. But once you're Harrison College or Combermere, Combermere wasn't in the first 11 at that time, but Harrison College was. But they couldn't touch you see, because, you know, you'll be a top cricketer and all that. So when you look at Empire, you will find that's where you will find that Everton Weeks or somebody in Empire, not in Spartan. Couldn't get in Spartan because of background, education, you understand? So no, Barbados has some very serious things. So it's not as bad as that now, because you find black people in Pickwick or Wanderers or nowadays. Yeah. You understand? But in the 40s, 50s, 60s, you know.
Stories of Barbadian communities as told by her people. Just recently, Prime Minister Mottley spoke of plans for the Queen's Park area. Elombe Mottley takes us to Queen's Park.
There were popular youngsters from Carrington Village and so on that had this dance at Queen's Park House, which I was explaining to you, which was important because of the exhibition. Upstairs, if it was just about the time that it was converted into a full theatre and given seats and so on. But it was just an open thing with a stage, so a lot of things used to happen there and all that. And right, but when you see music with Blue Rhythm Combo, there's Blue Rhythm now, right? Drums, and the most amazing thing to see they used to play at a place off the highway, a dance hall. I'm trying to remember who it was, but one thing about BRC, whenever BRC playing at the fair, and they have 200 people at the fair, at least 150 standing up in front of the band watching Boo rather play drums, right? Because Boo was a very flamboyant drummer and he was the man in rhythm behind the band. So Queen's Park House was one, but there was also several different places around Bridgetown. People used to turn up and you could watch 15 rows of people just watching Boo rather play drums with BRC and so on. That was a big thing, you know. And although, whether it was the Park House, it was down there in Brandon's. It was close to what is the highway now, but they used to play and something Queen's Park House.
Well, there is so much that can be gleaned from posters. Elombe, in his wisdom, went around the island and collected many posters. Did I say collect? Well, Elombe will tell you exactly how he obtained these posters.
You know who Victor Gascock is?
Tell me.
Barbados' top football player, was the most very popular, and Frank Gill was a friend of his, also went to Harrison College with me. I invite you to the dance at Queen's Park House, which is downstairs where the art gallery is now. Constitution Road, Saturday, 8th of March, 1969. $1 admission. Music by who?
Tell me.
Boo Rudder and the Blue Rhythm Combo. Bar solid. C and B there. No, that's a classic again, right? Of course, I thief all of these, you know. I'm afraid to admit that. I do that because if I didn't take them down, they will have disappeared. But they were classic standard, man.
Let us continue the discussion on what was found on these posters and what occurred at the mini dances.
Well, listen, a lot of times people go to the dances just for the food. Ray Jones, known as Tall Boy, well-known player of CD's hi-fi combo. If you two fight between husband and wife there, that is two well-known comic characters, you know, that used to fight all the time. She was a boss. Look at the other side of the dance. There's a fight taking place, right? And who walking away the winner? She, right? Well, I used to go to dances it used to cost you a lot of money because whenever you're going there, somebody want a rum, you go buy a round of drinks, you understand? So you don't buy no round of drink, you buy the bottle of drink and everybody who wants drink can drink it, you know.
There were others who promoted dances, a number of popular Barbadians. Who were these, Elombe?
Again, there's a subculture that existed that talks about a Dutch party, because that was a big name. So boy, it wasn't a Dutch party, but the same dance, same sort of effect and everything else like this, right? So as you see, it's fit for today's music can done. Vernon Campbell, Postman, again, had his own following because a Postman, he used to cover all the houses so everybody know who he was, right? So he ain't having a dance, he having a Dutch party at their residence, Well Gap, Capefield, St. Michael, on Saturday night, 10th of June, 1972. So admission $250. So a lot of people use these fetes to raise money, and then use the bands, because this is still, this is about the switch now from the actual live music to the hi-fi, right? So the hi-fi was now a recording industry which has started to grow through world, right? So a lot of Bajan people, musicians were recording, and then the songman, he ain't got no band, so the songman playing the tracks, and that is it, so, you know. So that was the origin of that. But if you look at some of the others, some of the effects, all different places, whether it's the Queen's Park, again, or it was down the Children's Goodwill League, you know, which was down below, behind Queen's College, right? Or it may be YMPC. Well,
that was smart. What about the annual exhibition? It was a major event on the Barbadian calendar.
Every year, Barbados had an exhibition running for 2 days. Usually Wednesday and Thursday, I think it is, if I remember correctly, right? So that exhibition was a platform for all type of creative artists. Joiners used to exhibit inside that same hall, furniture, again. That brings us to, for me to say to you, these chairs or that chair or the table and so on was part of what Father exposed me to. As I said, we had a big mahogany tree that was sitting right in the path of the house that he wanted to expand and put an indoor toilet and bath and all that in those days. And this wood would be slabbed and put in a garage with air to pass under and left to dry for a year, 2 years, and so on. Then he would then convert them, hire a joiner. This joiner was a man, I can't remember his name, but he was also an amateur musician, right? And he used to do magic and things at schools for children and things like this. So as a result of that, I got to know these guys' names and so on. All the furniture made by black Barbadians, right? Some of the same ones you see in here, and so similar, were on exhibition there, and there were prizes given to the best ones at a particular time. It is something that I would say we lost track of in the last 70 years, 50, 60 years. Right? We don't have that exhibition that as a platform for craftsmen, you know. Everything from even kites used to be exhibited, you know, and that was it for it. And then there were also the stables used to be used. If you know the stable building at the back used to have a lot of craft and different things and so on. But it was a big thing for those 2 days, which was Wednesday and Thursday, I think it was, if I remember correctly. And Queen's Park House. And then by the 1950s, a lot of people started holding dances there, Queen's Park House, or at the Steel Shed. You know, which was the two places then that you had a lot of it.
Many an interesting story may be told about the Steel Shed and the event that occurred there. Once again, we could not overemphasize the importance of researching and documenting our own history for posterity. Community Life as told by Elombe Mottley. Thank you very much, Mr. Mottley. I'm Sherwood McCaskey. This has been My Community. Thanks for your time.